we started, I explained that to test whether you have the Laravel installer on your laptop, you should open your command line or terminal, depending on which operating system you are on, and you should type in Laravel. So usually you should not get these errors. I'm having them because I'm using some other things on my laptop. But the point is, you should get this Laravel installer text. It tells you the version of Laravel installer you're using, and you get to see some little tip on how to use it. So the most important one for now is this new. So when you use Laravel new, it creates a new Laravel application for you. So in case you try typing Laravel and you don't get this result, you can actually try running Composer. This is very important. So if you run Composer, you should see not all these errors too, but you see this big diagram of Composer. Yeah, this big diagram and some notes too without all the errors. The errors are my personal issues. So if you have Composer but you do not have Laravel installed, you can use the Laravel documentation to find out how to install the Laravel installer. Give me a minute. I should find the command and drop it there. So once you have that command, you should be able to have Laravel installed too. Okay, I think it has been removed from the official documentation too. Wow. Windows bash. Okay, yeah, this is it. So you may install the Laravel global installer. So in case you want to install Laravel globally, you have Composer, but you do not have the Laravel command. It's telling you command not available or unrecognized command or something. You can use this command that I'm pasting in this chat section now. So open your command line, type this command, and you should know after it installs everything it has to install, Laravel installed on your laptop. Now, next thing is after installing Laravel, you want to create a new Laravel application, as this thing says, create a new Laravel application. Now, I mentioned the other time that running this one creates the new Laravel application in your current directory. Uh, I'm guessing all of us have some basic experience with terminals or command line. Is there anybody here that has not used the terminal or command line before for anything? Not used to using command line. You can reply in the chat section if you don't make noise. I want to know how basic I should go, or should I just go on straight? Okay, so nobody's responding. Uh, I'm guessing we're all familiar with our command lines. So if you're on a Windows, you can easily navigate to your
We have
uh,
from the basic of command line.
okay. Okay, let's quickly go through that. That's not the but let's quickly go through it. It's all you need to know are just two primary commands. Two primary commands. The first one is cd, and the other one is just cd with dot dot, cd space dot dot, and ordinary cd. Now, a directory in programming terms, yeah. Give me a moment. So I say directory in programming. What it basically means is a folder. So let's say in my desktop now, I have plenty folders. So each of these folders are called directories. So I have a books directory, I have an engineering education directory, I have a PHP directory, and all those stuffs. So CD is short for change directory. Basically, it is used for moving from one folder to another. So on your command line, you actually have access to the whole of your computer. You can see all the files on your computer. You can delete everything on your computer from your command line. You can basically do anything you can do by clicking. Anything you can do by moving around your laptop can actually be done from the command line. So the most important ones, as I've said, is CD. Now on your laptop, when you open your command line by default, on a Windows, I think it opens C user, I think. Is anybody on their command line on a Windows now? I'm not on a Windows, so I don't really know where it starts from. I'm going to teach how to navigate to your Htdocs folder. Or you can actually open a command line from the Htdocs folder. If you're on a Windows, go to the Htdocs folder. Does anybody know what the Htdocs folder is?
No, I don't.
Okay, so when you install XAMPP, let's actually start what XAMPP does. What XAMPP does is it tries to make your PHP development, not only Laravel, it tries to make your PHP development easier by bundling everything you need to write code and managing it for you. So normally, if you're on maybe a system that's not really big on XAMPP, maybe an Ubuntu system now that doesn't support XAMPP, you would have to install PHP, you would install MySQL, you would have to install PHP My Admin, you would install Apache, you install about 6 to 7 things just to be able to write your Laravel properly. So what XAMPP does instead is when you install one application, which is XAMPP, it kind of installs all those things for you. You don't even have to know when it does them or how it does them. You just know that you can write PHP and can write Laravel. Now XAMPP has a full XAMPP when you're done with XAMPP installation and it installs all those stuff for you. There's a XAMPP folder on your laptop. It usually is in, I think, your C drive. Yeah. If you're on your Windows, go to this PC, double click on this PC icon. You should see a list of your folders. You should be able to see a XAMPP folder there. In the XAMPP folder, there should be an Htdocs folder. So that folder is where all of your Laravel projects should be, because that is where XAMPP can access it and use all the other things it has installed to make it run. Does that make sense? Is anybody following? Oh, okay. Nobody's answering. Okay. So moving on. So the purpose of learning how to work on your command line is when you open your command line. For example, now that I opened my own, it's starting from the root of my laptop. A computer usually has a root, like the main starting point. So from there, you can decide to move to your Htdocs folder, whichever folder, depending on your operating system that your code is supposed to be in. So usually me, I have a folder in my desktop. The name of folder is PHP stuff. So as you can see, everything that I have here can actually be accessed from here. So I have a PHP stuff here and I can actually access it from here. So next is I want to use my Laravel installer to create my first ever Laravel project. So what I would do is Laravel new, and name of the app, as I've told you, let's say blog app. So you see, ignore the errors. You see Laravel, and it says creating a Laravel project at blog app and installing a Laravel project with the version, and it installs a lot of other dependencies. Dependencies are code that your code needs to run. Do we understand that? So it has quite a couple of dependencies. If you have any question at any point, please just type it or just stop me to let me know, please.
I have a question, please. Mine is friend and
Yeah,
hello,
okay, I'm following.
because I can't use the
Said
chat. I
what?
don't know the chat. I can't use the chat. It's not working on my own phone. I don't know why. The error I'm having is
You can use the tab.
no, the installation. When I want to install new Laravel project, what actually happened is that
Okay, okay.
there's a composer error that is showing me. I don't know, and that's PHP. The writing PHP fatal error. But
Okay.
without exception. Like, now
Okay,
it's
but
pointing to the
you have
directory.
Laravel
I have
installed.
Laravel.
When you typed Laravel, you got a
Yes,
good response again. Okay, you're on
Laravel.
a Windows.
Yes.
Laravel what?
I want to say 4 point something. Laravel.
Okay, okay. So as
4
I
point.
explained before, I explained that when you're on a Windows, you'd need to have all your work in your Htdocs folder that XAMPP creates for you. You're using XAMPP too
So I use one. I prefer one factor.
on a Windows.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
I use one.
Does one have an Htdocs folder?
It's not a C dot that you actually use. This is let me check. I use.
Okay. I've not I've not used one before, and I don't really know much of the technicalities involved. Is it possible that
WW.
you share a screen?
I'm using. I'm using my phone to. I'm using my phone.
Oh,
I'm coming.
you could.
It's my phone that
Okay.
I use. Let me.
Okay,
Let
I'm on
me.
the Slack channel. You could always reach out to me and we could sort it together. Or you could join with your laptop before this call ends and probably share a
Mm-hmm.
screen so we look at it together.
Yes, yes. Happy.
Okay. Does Abubakar have a question too? Oh, give me a minute. Let me focus on your screen.
I don't know.
I don't think this is readable. Okay, Laravel new. Okay, hit enter. Let me see what this returns.
Okay, I'm coming. And uh, I think
Yes. It's not
yeah, like
steady, but so it works now.
no, it's still an error.
I thought I saw Laravel now.
It's composer error.
Okay, so it
Coming.
fails.
Yes, composer error.
Give
Could not be.
me a minute. Thank
Thank you.
you. Just far. You just stop making it. Okay.
Huh?
Well, it's actually hard to read this. You're making it hard to read by moving it around, I have to say.
Thank you.
Have you, as I asked the other time, the folder for WAM, or it does not have a particular folder that you can actually run code in? Because I'm sure for normal XAMPP, if you try to do anything outside of the Htdocs folder, it would most likely turn an error too. Do you
Okay,
understand?
so I know the folder where for one. I know where it's actually stored. So are you saying that I should point to that directory?
Yeah, that's what we now.
You point to the directory, right? Hello?
Yes.
And you
That's
point
exactly what I
okay,
try
let
to
me
be in the directory that your local server gives you. So if you're on a XAMPP, you should only try to run Laravel new application from your htdocs folder.
okay.
Do you all understand that?
I understand.
Yeah,
Let me
the
try.
main reason it happens is because these things are basically trying to save you from the stress, and then they've limited everything to a particular folder. You understand? So, I mean, I can run it anywhere. I have it configured globally and a lot of. It's harder than using XAMPP for. So I said there was a Abubakar have a question. His hand has been raised for a while now. Okay, moving on. So when you use the Laravel new to create an application, it installs all the dependencies. So as I said the other time, dependencies are other code that your own code needs to run. That's one of the benefit of open source. Once somebody has written something, you don't have to write it again. You can use that other person's code in your own code. So next thing to do now is to walk through the project, what do you call it? The project structure. So I'll show you now. Laravel creates a very large folder for you. Immediately you create a project. So today we are going to look at all the folders in our folder and all the other files too, to get to understand what is happening in each of them. So I use PHP Storm, by the way. You can use VS Code or Sublime or maybe Vim, whichever ID you like. Anything works. So give me a second. So just know where you created your folder. So desktop, uh, PHP stuff, and then I have my newly created blog app. So once I open it, okay, new window. Okay, give it a moment. It's loading. Okay, so it automatically it comes with a README file. I believe we all know what a README file is. That you can actually look at it and see why you should use Laravel or no. So yeah, that's so for every Laravel project you create, every time you run Laravel new, it automatically comes with all of these files. So you have an app folder, bootstrap, config, database, public resources, route, storage, tests, and vendor. Now I would start by explaining all of these one at a time. Now, notice, first thing you should know at the back of your mind is Laravel is an object-oriented framework. That means everything in Laravel uses classes for everything. So you just see these classes. One class inherits from the other class, interfaces from the other class, and all. So you have to be familiar with OOP in PHP to some certain level, and also Laravel uses the MVC pattern. Is there anybody here who has not heard of the MVC pattern before?
I haven't heard of the MVC pattern before.
Okay. So if you've written PHP before now, you've most likely been using, if you've used PHP to build an website before, you've most likely used the normal procedural programming where you write your code from scratch. Let's say you're trying to build a sign up form now. You write your code at the beginning of the script, you have or if post button, you're trying to check where the form is submitted. And then if the form is submitted, you get all the user inputs, you start up, you create a connection with the database, you post whatever the user creates in the database, and at the end of that, you want to display a response, and the response will be some HTML that is echoed from your PHP. So that way you are handling everything relating to that page in one PHP file. Now the MVC architecture tries to separate different concerns, making your code easier to manage, to scale, and also I think it's also very reliable and better. So instead of having one file that has 400 lines, that's when there's an error somewhere, you would have to probably shut down your website because you are trying to find an error out of the 400 or 800 lines you've written. You would have separate files for different purposes. So you have your models. So models are okay. Let me show you in the code before I later do the actual diving. So your models are what have to do with your database. So Laravel has an app models folder where you get to see your models. Give me a moment. Okay, app. So you have app models, and in these models, you see everything that has to do, or most things that have to do with your database, relationships, and all. So yeah, you see a user model, user.php. The user has a name, email, password, has a remember token, and basically most things about the user you can find in the user model. You understand? So instead of you having to connect to the database in one file, create user account, check if user is logged in, everything in one file, you have models specifically for managing anything that has to do with the database. And then apart from models, you have views. Views are regular pages that the users get to see. So instead of you writing all your HTML and CSS and PHP and JavaScript in one single file, you have view files. For example, look at this now. It is actually almost 100% HTML. It just has some very few, about maybe 4 to 5 lines of Laravel in it. So this is what a normal view file should look like. Pure HTML and CSS, and it is in your Laravel project. So you understand things are separated. So your front end team can actually be working on the same project as the back end team without having to stress themselves. Normal PHP project, PHP is written in HTML, HTML is written in PHP. It's usually very messed up. So the MVC architecture makes so much sense. And then the final one is controllers. Basically, controllers are now the ones serving as middlemen between views and uh, databases, views and models. So, for example, let's say you're trying to display all the posts or all the articles that I have written. So maybe when somebody comes to my profile on the blog app that I build, person is trying to see all the articles that I have written. So first is you need to go to database, look for all articles where my name is the author or something. When you get all those articles, you need to then bring them somehow inside the HTML. So that's where controllers come in. So there's no controller by default because Laravel in at the beginning you have just one single HTML file with no data in it. What the controller does is it gets this data from the model and then puts it in the view. So the controller is like the middleman between both the views and the model. So I guess that's like a good enough introduction to what the MVC architecture is. You can look it up. It's a very popular architecture. It's not only Laravel that uses it. It's in almost every programming language and different frameworks use it. So you can look it up and you would find many resources to help you further understand it. Now, to go through each of these folders one at a time. So the first one is the app folder, and it is where you would be doing most of your work as a Laravel developer. In it, you have a console. This is you shouldn't really have to touch this file. So
You shouldn't really have to touch it unless you start writing cron jobs and other stuff. So for now and training, you wouldn't have any thing to do with this. And then the exceptions folder, this is just a folder of all the exceptions or most of the exceptions that Laravel ships with. So if you check in here, and I think you should be able to create your own exceptions too. So also you have your Htdocs folder. This you would be dealing with quite a lot because you'd be creating controllers for almost everything you are doing. So you'd have controllers. Once you are building something that has data in it, you definitely have controllers, and all of your code would be in controllers. And there is a base controller class. As I've said, Laravel is an object-oriented framework, which means every other controller you create extends this controller, which also extends a base controller. You get the old gist. So there is a base controller that all your controllers must extend, and then there are middlewares. We would go deeper into understanding what these do later on. But Laravel comes with a couple of middlewares, and you can create your own tool whenever you ever need to use it. And then you have your models. For now, there's only the user model as, and that's just one of the things a framework does for you. Most applications have users, so there is a user model that ships by default to it. The most basic settings like users have username, they have email address, they have passwords, and the likes. And then there are providers. We shouldn't be dealing with these till the end of this course too. But providers are useful when you start building large applications. You start building large applications, you want to look into providers. By default, Laravel ships with a couple of providers, auth service providers, and I think the name kind of explains what they do. So you have providers, auth service providers. These ones handle things that have to do with authentication and all. You can set authorization rules and all in these ones. So next you have your bootstrap folder. So your bootstrap folder is also another folder I don't think you should ever touch. I've not had the need to. It is where Laravel's code is, the code that starts Laravel. This is where it is. So you shouldn't have the need to touch it. And you can the Laravel application itself is well documented. So the newly created application comments that you can actually look at to see what each of these files do and try to have better understanding. And finally, then you have the config. So this is where all the configuration for basic things are. So a very simple or one that might be easy to understand is your mail.php. So Laravel assumes you'll be able to send mails in your application, but you could have different clients. You might be sending your mail from your maybe MailChimp account, or you're using your Namecheap host, or you're trying to send from Heroku, or you're trying to send from your email account. Laravel allows you to do any type that you want. So all you just need to do is put it in your config, set the details, and yeah, you're good to go. So you can basically configure anything. Laravel is a very flexible framework. It is opinionated, but it is still very flexible. It comes with things that feel you should like, and in some cases when you happen not to like these things, you can always use anything else. So by default, Laravel uses MySQL, but then it allows you use SQLite, PostgreSQL, SQL, SRV. I've not even heard of this before, but Laravel supports it, and you can also configure for other ones that are not even listed here. So Laravel allows you to be as flexible as possible, and you can set. Remember the views that I showed you. You can actually set where you want it to be. If you don't want it to be in that folder, that you can set anything in Laravel. So just go through your config, find out where what you need to set is,
and you should be able to be fine with that. Okay, I'm hearing sounds. Do you people have questions or something? Does anybody have any question or okay? I'm hearing some sort of beeping sound. Okay, somebody's waiting in the lobby. Okay, back to where I stopped. Next is database. Now this basically holds files that help make database interaction easier. So one thing you would be learning about later is the eloquent ORM. Laravel uses an ORM. So an ORM is full meaning object resource mapper. Basically, it maps database rows. So in your database, if you're using MySQL, your data is stored in rows and columns. So what an ORM does is it takes a row and converts it to an object. You'll be able to access all of the values in different columns by the name of the column. So you'll be able to do something like user name, user email, user password easily without having to probably do conversions like you normally do when you are doing raw SQL fetches. So yeah, a couple more helpers the Laravel shape suite. Laravel has factories that I would explain factories later on when we get to databases. But factories are basically code that you write to generate fake data. I think the name sound, or when you need to generate data in bulk to probably test your database or see how it gets started with. So, for example, the user factory that comes in Laravel, it automatically creates fake users for you. Maybe you just need to see how your dashboard will look with 200 users, or you probably just want to test if your mail works, or for whatever reason you need to probably have users. Laravel has a user factory that already comes with it, uses the faker PHP library. You can look for it, you can read up on the library later. It's on php.net. So the faker library generates fake name, generates fake email, it uses random password, and then for the token it uses some random token too. So that's what the factory is, and you can actually set it to probably use a pattern or something depending on how whatever you want. So next is migrations. So since Laravel allows you use different type of databases and sometimes possibly multiple databases too, you have migration files. These are files that store database structure and configuration so that when you move from maybe development to deployment, you don't have to carry your entire database with you. All you just need to do is run a migration. So when you run a migration, your Laravel looks at this file and you see the way it looks at it runs the up function. So it says schema create. Basically what this does is it creates a table called users. The table has a field called ID, and it has a name and an email which must be unique. It has an email verified at that is nullable, and it has a password field, and you get the gist. So instead of how you would normally do when you write your PHP application and you try to deploy it online, where you would have to export the SQL stuff, Laravel automatically like saves you the stress by using migration. So no matter database or anything, you just need to like run your migration and it works. So you also have seeders, and these ones help you fill your database with some data to get started with. So you use this maybe when you have some data that your application must start with, and you don't want to add code, and also for moving on different servers. So you create a seeder, and when you run your seeder, it's whatever data you set is automatically put in your database. You use this especially when you're trying to create an application that has admins. So you create
you create admin seed, and whenever you finally deploy your application, those admins automatically have accounts in there. Or you want to start with maybe 5 hosts or something. Whenever you see the application, it takes all those. Moving on, I think that's all with databases. You have your public directory. This is where you store all of your static files and user-facing files, like your HTML, I said HTML, your CSS and JavaScript files. They are stored in here with these other files, and I don't think you should ever have to edit this index.html file, except for maybe in production, depending on your server. But this file is the main file, index.php file, that's actually when you run your Laravel project. So when you actually run Laravel PHP Artisan Serve, what you're actually doing is running this index.php, and then it initiates the whole process, and you have your application running. So next is your resources, as I've showed you. Now, I mentioned that you have your CSS and JavaScript in your public, but you notice now that your CSS and JavaScript are in your resources. Now, the CSS and JavaScript in your resources will be compiled and put in your public. When your CSS and JavaScript can be maybe SCSS files, probably even tailwind CSS files that you need. But when you want to go into production, you need them compiled and minified. So use Laravel Mix. It's a package that automatically Laravel to compile them, and the minified versions would automatically be created by Laravel and moved. Your view files, yes. Give me a moment. Okay, any questions so far? Does anybody have any question, or is anybody still following me? Please reply so I'll know.
Yes, I'm still following.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let me get back at it. Okay. Okay, so after your public and resource folders, you have your routes folder. Route folder is where you have all the routes for your applications. So Laravel as a web framework gives you as much flexibility as you can get at multiple types today. So it can be used as a full stack framework where you have HTML, CSS, and your Laravel, or it can be used as a total backend framework where you are building just APIs. So it has different files for the route, and these files have been uh, these files have the right middlewares applied to them already, so you do not have to really bother. So you can check out the web.php, which is the route file that we'll be using mostly of all the other. So you also this way can and so routing will be explained better in detail when the time is. So also you have the storage folder where Laravel helps you manage files that get put to your application, it stores log files and catch files too. So when you guys keep things in your catch, Laravel stores them. Yeah, so you won't really be writing code in there. I think it's a folder that's automatically updated as your application moves. So you have tests too. We might not get to these, but Laravel is also a test-driven framework, meaning you can actually write code to test your code for better performance. So you have feature test, unit test, and as expected with the way Laravel has been so far, there is always an example and so much documentation, so many comments for everything that Laravel does. And finally, you have your vendor folder. So this folder is like the node modules for PHP. So whenever you're building a PHP project and you're using Composer bundles all the dependencies into a vendor folder. So this is where all your dependencies are stored. You can go through them, but I think there are too many to explore. So you have other files. Is somebody trying to speak? Okay. So you have other files like editor config. I'm not really sure you would have anything to ever do with these files. So this one just tells your IDE, depending on which IDE you use. So it tells your IDE a few things, a few configurations, tab size, and all. So I don't think this should really bother. Most IDs or some IDs ignore it. You have your environment files. Now, environment files are very important. Environment file tells Laravel secrets about your application. So this is where you write things that you don't want to be in your code. And if you notice, if you check your git ignore, you notice that your environment file is listed there because it must never be uploaded to GitHub or any other version control system because it's supposed to contain secret. So for example, see my app key. It's supposed to be a secret, but you find it in my environment file and you see other details like my mailing details, my AWS secret key. And imagine paying mad money for AWS and somebody just opens my GitHub and can easily access my. So that's why there's an env.example that you can upload to GitHub. So when you're working with another the developer gets to see the template and all the required secrets that the developer needs for the application to run. But the developer doesn't actually like get the actual secret. So that's what the env file is. You store sensitive data in it and it must never be pushed to Git. So you have the Git attributes. I'm not really sure what that is used for. Okay. You have the. I know what this is used for too. You have the artisan. I think this is the file responsible for running all the PHP artisan you'd be running. So you'd be running a lot of PHP artisan. I would explain what that when we start using them. And then you have your composer.json. This is like your package.json. It basically lists all your dependencies and their versions or the acceptable versions. So you see, you have your name of your project is Laravel, and then it needs all these things. It needs Footcake, Laravel course, it needs Laravel framework, Sandstorm, and Tinker. And you get to see the accepted ranges. So this version has to be greater than 2.0. This has to be greater than 7.0.1, and also you get to know all the required stuff. And then you have your composer.lock.
is just basically this, but with more detail on every single file that was installed and every detail about each of those files that was installed. So now you can even see authors of one of the dependencies and a lot more detail. So this is way more heavier. And sometimes people don't commit this because it doesn't allow for flexibility. And then you have a package.json because, as I explained the other time, you can actually be using Tailwind, SCSS, and you can even write Vue or React or any other front-end framework in your Laravel. So any dependency you install, any npm install is also stored here. So you have your PHP unit. This is used for testing, and I said we might not get to it. And you have your webpack.mix. This is also for JS, and this is Laravel mix that you get to see. So I think that's all of it for this class. If you do have questions now, please. Okay, so if you have no questions and you followed us from the beginning up to this point and you're able to create your Laravel application as it, yeah, when you create the new application you
It's
see it
mine.
tells you, okay, you've not been able to fix it.
Yes, yes. I was. You can't point actually to where the the www file for folder for WAMP. You can't actually point to it from the HP user. I don't know why.
We'll look at that together. Me and you should probably have a call later. I don't know why that is, but I'm guessing the remaining four people on this call have been able to create new Laravel applications.
I haven't been able to create mine.
Why? Is there a problem that I can help with, or you just
Is
not
I
felt
tried
like?
I tried downloading it, but it was PHP Storm that download.
I don't understand how you tried downloading from the command line, or you went online
I went online.
to click on download Laravel.
Yes.
Okay, did you use the? Did you get the materials that were sent before the class?
Yes, to download it.
And it took you to PHP Storm.
Yes, yes.
Okay. I think maybe there was a mix-up in the link that you got, but the summary is to install Laravel. It's not hard. Are you on a Windows computer?
Yes.
Okay, on a Windows computer, there are two things you have to install before you can install Laravel. The first one is XAMPP. Do you have XAMPP installed?
Yes.
Okay. The second one is Composer. Do you have Composer installed?
No.
Okay, you can just Google Composer now. It shouldn't be more than 20 MB max. So if you Google Composer now, or just Google Composer PHP, it will take you to the Get Composer website. You see a magician. Let me show you. Okay, I forgot that I'm still sharing my screen. Uh, see. The website is getcomposer.php. Give me a second. Okay, so this should be. Sorry. Oh, give me a second. What's happened? Get Composer. What's wrong? I'm going to open Composer and I'm opening WhatsApp. Okay, so get composer. How do you spell composer? Yeah. So if you Google get composer, yeah, it should take you to the website where you install composer, and it's easy to install. You download the composer.exe file, and you just have to like follow along. It's very easy to install. So once you have composer installed, you to test whether you have it installed, you go to your command line or terminal, and you type in, okay, see, this is what you see. It's very easy. So just see you see the magician,
Yes.
and you look for download. Yeah, so once you click on download, I'm not trying to download now, but once you click on download, it's it okay. I think this one is for Mac people. I think there's a place for Windows. Ah, give me a second. Okay. So I think it's detecting my laptop or something. Because it's supposed to show. Yeah, it's trying to automatically install for me. Just, are you seeing these same options on your laptop? It's supposed to
Yes.
show these same options.
Yes.
Okay, then use the first one. Just use this first one. I think there used to be a composer.txt file. Just use this first one. Copy all as I've done it like this. So just copy, or you can do it line by line too if you want to see how it goes. So just copy everything, dump it on your command line, and you see it install composer. So once you have composer installed, you can Google Laravel, and you can
Yes.
see installation composer, and then you can install the Laravel installer. So once you install this Laravel installer, you'll be able to do Laravel new, whatever project name it is. You understand now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm hoping that before next class you would have it installed already. Uh, Hello, Oyin.
Hello?
Are you following with the class? Do you have any issues, or
Uh,
you've been able to create a new Laravel applications too?
yes.
Okay, you've been able to create the application. That's nice. That's nice. Okay, next is Inanna. I think I pronounced that right. Have you
Yes,
been able
sir.
to create the application?
Oh, no. Wasn't even
Why
aware
do?
I was supposed to get the app. Because in the list of links where we are supposed to download, Composer, XAMPP, and VS Code,
Oh,
I just downloaded all those ones. Then I saw Laravel in brackets. I didn't know I was supposed to go and get that one.
okay, okay, okay. Sorry, that was our bad. I'm very sorry about that. But
No problem.
it's very easy to install once you have Composer.
Yes.
As I've shown, Composer is a dependency manager, so it helps people install things that have to do with PHP. So,
Yes.
and the if you see what I showed you here, all you just actually need to do is Composer global require, like just this one command, and you have Laravel installed. Just one command, so it's very easy.
Just
Next
copy
is
it, paste it.
paste it on your command.
Okay, I should just copy that and paste it on
So
my
next
command line.
is yes, yes, yes. It would.
So no need of
You
downloading any
see
app or
successful added package Laravel. No, no, Laravel is not an app. It's a programming language. So it's usually installed on your. The installation is usually done on your terminal, and that's where you most access it most times. Yes.
okay.
So that's it. And next is Eniola. Have you been able to install and create a new application as I have?
Yeah, but my laptop kind of died at some point, so I will continue. But I've taken note of everything you've been saying.
Yeah, okay, that's really nice. Yes, I'm really glad that we all followed along. I'm really glad. So now another very nice feature about Laravel is in since we started the class, we've not actually written any code, but we Laravel already gave us plenty as I've walked you through all the folders and all. And to bust your brain now, the application we just created now can actually be run. We can actually see it live, like without having to touch anything. All you just need to do is cd into the name of the application is blog app. Okay, I typed DC. So my laptop is a bit slow. I've got a bit too many things running at the same time. Pardon me. Okay, cd blog app. So this is the first time you'll be using PHP Artisan. So maybe in next class we go deeper into what it is. So when you type PHP Artisan serve, it tells you starting Laravel development server, and when you click on this, when you click on the link to try open the browser, and you should see a very fine landing page that Laravel has created for you. Okay, give it a minute. Okay, so I clicked on it and it's taking a few seconds to load. Okay, so this is, yeah, it should be white, but my laptop is on force dark mode, so nothing can make it white. So I have some very strict rules on dark mode. So this is it. This is the result of this resources, the views file that we saw. So resources, views, welcome.blade.php. Yeah. So Laravel is ready to go. So just create your project and it gives you a page already. You have Tailwind CSS set up and you're actually ready to go. So to be sure, so that you believe that it is actually from there, I'll change this Laravel as wonderful to Zubair as wonderful, and then I will save and reload, and I hope this works. See, Zubair as wonderful. So that's how easy it is to get started with Laravel, and the more you write it, the more you like it and understand it. So I guess that's the end of today's session. I should be on Slack, might not be active 24/7, but I would reply a message at least once every day or once every 2 days. So you can reach out to me on Slack. So thank you very much, guys. Thanks for listening out too. So goodbye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.